Left 4 Dead was a zombie-killing first-person shooter with gameplay split over 4 different campaigns or movies. Left 4 Dead 2 is the exact same thing, only with 5 campaigns and a heap of upgrades to the gameplay, graphics, sound design, and feature set. Compared to the first game, it certainly meets and exceeds it, but since fans were expecting the original to be a platform supported by frequent downloadable content, does this new entry in the series deserve your hard-earned dough? This time around, the game takes place in the Deep South, locations including an overrun mall, a misty bayou, an abandoned carnival, stormy trailer park, and the streets of New Orleans. Unlike the last game, however, these are all tied together through the story. The survivors make their way from place to place searching for rescue, and how they all get between places is cleverly tied within the gameplay. Through all this mayhem, we get to know the 4 survivors a bit more. You've got Coach, a high school football coach with a corny sense of humor, Ellis, a young and naive mechanic, Rochelle, a TV reporter who doesn't handle well under pressure, and finally Nick, a con man with a sharp wit. While in safe houses or taking a breather, the characters will banter off each other, revealing more of the story and providing some fairly mellow humor.
Ellis. My name's Ellis.
Hey, name's Rochelle. You?
While in the safe houses, the story presents itself a little more through the writings on the walls, presumably left behind by previous visitors. But let's put the story aside, because that's not why anybody's playing this game. You've come for gratuitous violence and the cooperative experience, and we're happy to say that there's lots of both, at least for everyone outside of Australia. On the subject of co-op, do not play this game alone. Ever. The game was built around a cooperative experience, and the bots of the single-player campaign simply do not provide a meaningful and adequate enough replacement for real players, assholes as they sometimes might be.
Okay.
New to the gameplay this time around are the incendiary and explosive rounds, melee weapons, and 3 new types of specially infected. But the most meaningful addition is perhaps the new mode, Scavenge, undoubtedly where we had the most fun. In Scavenge, the team playing the survivors are tasked with collecting 16 fuel cans to power up a car, generator, or whatever. The trick is, within every minute and a half, 1 can must be emptied into the tank. Once that's done, more time will be awarded to get to the next can. The team playing the infected in this mode, just like in Versus mode, is tasked with stopping the survivors at all costs. The other available modes are all pretty much copies from the original Left 4 Dead, only with more locations, weapons, and a few different enemy types added into the mix. The melee weapons are definitely a great addition, and particularly the highly satisfying chainsaw and guitar. The 3 new special infected are the Jockey, a small jittery little zombie that jumps on top of survivors' heads and controls their movement, the Charger, a big but not quite tank-big creature with an overgrown arm. He charges his victims and then runs them into the nearest wall and proceeds to beat the living hell out of them. And finally, you've got the Spitter, sort of like the Smoker in that they're both ranged attackers, except instead of pulling her victims to her, the Spitter sends out a missile of acid that deals area of effect damage to anyone unlucky enough to step near. With all these inclusions, a veteran Left 4 Dead player will have to come up with new existing strategies to survive the apocalypse. The AI director has been slightly tweaked, making completion a little easier than before. It does this by handing out more health packs, special items, and the odd pile of ammo. A good adrenaline boost never hurt anyone either. All this benefits 2 modes more than any, the Versus and the Scavenge mode, and if you're anything like us, this is where you'll spend most of your time. The game itself is fueled by the Source engine, an engine that Valve has clung to for the better part of 5 years now, and it shows. The environments are passable, but provide little to wonder and awe at. More sophisticated lighting and shading technologies are definitely missing, but there is one thing that the game deserves praise for: the zombies. The enemies in this game may not look terrific up close, but when they're running for you at top speed with blood and guts shooting out of them as you pour bullets into them, few things have ever looked or felt so real. Not much can be said about the sound design. It's decent. You'll cringe every time you hear the scream of a hunter or the sobbing of a witch, but that's about the only lasting effect it has. It provides just enough atmosphere to make the game kind of scary, but never enough to really stay with you. Technically, they haven't done anything wrong, or at least not that we can put a finger on. The sound of your steps changes depending on what you're walking on, the zombies' cries are varied, and the banter between the characters is mildly amusing. It's not bad, but it's not great either.
I'm going to get you on your feet.
All in all, Left 4 Dead 2 feels like a game made for newcomers. It's definitely as fun as the original, but the amount of new content just isn't worth the entirely new purchase. This really does feel like a package that should have been downloadable content. If, however, you didn't play the first one, then we can wholeheartedly recommend this for you. It's a very good game. It just isn't that much better than the first.